Live from the Workplace Ninja Summit in Baden. From sponsor breakthroughs to community-led revolutions, this is the Workplace Ninja Community Stage.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for spending some time with me during your lunchtime. I know these conferences can be jam-packed full of exciting announcements as I walk right by the speaker and make noise. But really, one of the things that you'll have heard about, and just a thing I want to kind of share, is that I've seen that I've come to this conference maybe about 4 years, and for the first time, instead of people kind of grumbling about having to move to cloud native, people are excited to move to cloud native because AI, because zero trust principles. There's something that you're getting in return by going to cloud native around innovation that we weren't getting on-prem, that we weren't getting with legacy processes. And so I'm Sumeet Halvadia. I'm co-founder and CTO of Rimo3. And we're really excited to announce that we are part of the Intune migration program that Jason Rojak and Matt were talking about in the keynote initially. So what do we do? Really quickly, for those folks that don't know, is we automate app migration, right? I've built an automation platform and an entire career around application management inside of the enterprise. So I started running product management for Admin Studio and Install Shield, so I learned the packaging world. Then we started App DNA, which we sold to Citrix, which was really focused on automated testing as people were moving from XP to 7. Then at Citrix, I ran worldwide pre-sales and strategy, so I focused on app delivery. And I thought, why do we have 3 different platforms? Why do we have 3 different things? These are legacy processes. It's really boring work. Let's just automate the entire thing. And that was what Rimo3 was founded on, the principle of bringing automation that's fit for purpose around application management. So what does that really mean if you strip all the marketing out? We automate migrations of apps from SCCM to Intune. We automate the packaging of applications to MSIX, to intunewin, to app volumes, to whatever modern format you might be looking for. We automate the testing of these applications so that you can ensure that they're going to work from Windows 10 to Windows 11. We automate the testing to see if you can move from Citrix Server 2019 to Windows 365, Windows 11 multi-session, right? We automate testing. We also automate the export and management once you get to Intune. So for us, I want to make sure that unless something goes wrong, you don't have to touch your applications anymore. Whether they're homegrown, whether they are developed for COTS applications and they're high trust, whether they're sitting in EAM or not, irrelevant to me. My goal is to get your applications to the right users, keep them updated, keep them validated, and ensure that your users have a great experience and the admins don't have the ass ache of traditional application management. So that's really it at a high level. What I do want to tell you is kind of our approach. And our approach, like I said, is around automated migration, automated validation, automated packaging, automated export, and then automated updating. Those 5 things. But it's all app-centric. Every automation we've built is built for purpose. And we start with getting applications onto the platform. So how many people are migrating from Config Manager to Intune right now? Any of you guys? You guys? So a lot of you might have already done it, but in order for us to go through this migration process, we're dealing with a lot of customers that have thousands of applications, and our goal is to bring all that metadata, conditional logic. You've spent time packaging these applications. You've created pre- and post-installation scripts. You've created things around these apps that are very specific to your environment. So we're going to pull all that conditional logic, all that data from Config Manager, and we're going to automate the discovery of those applications. And what that means is I'm going to take all your silent installation instructions, all your dependencies, all of your string of commands, and ultimately install that application in your known good environment so that we can understand the expectations of that application, the DNA of that application, and then we execute those apps in that environment so we understand the behavior. The key here is that we don't want to script anything. Managing a library of RPA scripts is awful. So we've actually created 3 different patents around this process that allow us to test any Windows application regardless of the format in any Windows environment so that we can understand that behavior. Now, once we've onboarded the application and gone through that installation, then we say, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Windows 365? That's a finance build. Do you want to move to stay on Windows 10 and do a co-manage with Config Manager? Do you want to move to Windows 11 that's completely locked down and sys-hardened? Doesn't matter. Point us to each of those different builds and we can actually automate the testing against those builds. What's great about this is that because we understand the expected behavior in a good environment, when there's a deviation from that behavior, we capture it and you have a recording, a video recording of the failure, screenshots of the failure, and guided remediation on how to potentially fix that failure. So now, we're not testing every application in a user acceptance testing environment and spending 10 days or 14 days or whatever your SLA might be. We're doing it in a matter of minutes, and only the ones that are problem children do you have to go in and do anything with, right? So not only are we automating the testing, but we're giving you the error and we're giving you insights into how to remediate that particular error. You can give it back to the application owners and say, let's go, fix it. We're missing this middleware component. We're missing a dependency. Here it is. Can you repackage that? Make sense? Now, once we've actually gone through the validation process, you probably, anyone looking to move to MSIX, app volumes, any modern format? Just Intune? Intune's fine. So regardless of what the format is, we're going to allow you to determine if it's a good candidate for intunewin because it's past validation. If it has, we'll automate the intunewin wrapping of that application. So now you've completely unattended, gone through the discovery, understood what's in Config Manager, automated the validation of the destination you want to get to, and now we're actually exporting all those packages into Intune, so you now have the ability to start deploying them and creating these deployment rings. And it's all done without any scripting, and it can all be done and orchestrated because it's API first through ServiceNow or whatever ITSM technology you might be using for your help desk requests and things of that nature. And then once they're in Intune, we really want to make sure that we add value operationally, right? We've helped you migrate these applications in almost as touchless of a fashion as you possibly can, which I'll show you a demo of. But now, we're also going to help you manage them operationally inside of Intune. So I can take all this data that you get around how it's been validated and whether it's safe to deploy and help you actually create those deployment rings directly within Intune, do bulk assignments so you're not assigning one app at a time to one deployment ring at a time and going through a series of 400 clicks. We're enhancing the efficiency inside of that environment so that you can ultimately ensure that you have templatized workflows around your phased deployment and ultimately around where you want to get that application to your end user. And then once we have it there, the next thing that people have asked for is, well, how many people are thrilled with Intune reporting? No one ever raises their hand, especially as it pertains to application management. So what we've done is we've actually created reporting around your app deployments inside of Intune so that we can help you determine, are you sized properly in Windows 365 to deliver these applications? Are there new versions of that application available? Are there vulnerabilities in my existing deployments that have just been identified by NIST, by Defender, by whoever? And then if there are, can you go ahead and automate the update of that application for me? So now you're talking about true lifecycle management, including updating, including having the ability to get these applications out the door, keep them updated, keep them secured, and keep the users happy. Does that make sense? Great. So with that, I'll actually show you the demo. of the software. So again, like I said, this is all hosted inside of the tenant, inside of the customer tenant, the partner tenant, whatever role you might play. So none of this data is leaving your environment. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, give me your source of applications. Where do your binaries sit? Is it a file share for Citrix for your published applications? Is it Config Manager? Is it Intune? Is it wherever? I don't care. You point us to it, and this is the pipeline that it's going to follow. We're going to automate the import. We're going to automate the discovery, or you could just say, you know what? Import it and tell me how many applications are in my environment. You have no idea how many people we've talked to this week that when I ask them how many apps they have, they don't know the answer. Like maybe 3,000-ish, I don't know, right? So being able to get access to that data right off the bat is quite important. And then we automate that onboarding process, just using VMs inside of your Azure tenant. And that process is pretty straightforward, right? Here, you're able to see that I've just clicked import. I've pulled my applications in, and I don't care if it's a VBS. I don't care if it's an app V package. Doesn't matter if it's an MSIX app volumes. As long as it's a silently installable package that runs on Windows, we're going to have the ability to execute it and automate that discovery. And one of the things that you'll see is as we go through this process, it takes about 7 minutes per step because it takes that long to spin a VM up. But what we're able to do is we're able to take a look at each of these steps and say, oh, actually, look, MSIX Hero failed. Why did it fail? Let's find out. I can come in and see that as I was actually even running this in Windows 10, I was able to convert it to an MSIX properly. But when I went through the installation, I had my dependency, I had no problem, I was able to figure that out. I installed it without an issue, but boom. When I ran through the smoke test, what I was able to actually capture, both via a video recording that you could go back to the app owner with, as well as the screenshots is, it's missing a dependency. It's missing a particular version of .NET Core, right? So we've created this, you have the error, and I was able to get all this data in about 7 minutes without ever installing the application, without ever packaging the application, without ever going through a physical process to understand, can this application be migrated? Does that make sense? It's all done through CPU. Now, when you start doing this at scale, that's where you start seeing a lot of the benefits, where you're dealing with tens of applications or hundreds of applications or even thousands, where if I'm starting to plan what my migration looks like, it's as simple as going through this process and saying, actually, I want to generate a report, which can be done right out of the platform. And I can go in and say, I've created a report for preparing for cloud native. Tell me which of my applications are good candidates for Intune, which ones are ready for Windows 365, which ones will move to MSIX, and then also give me an app-by-app breakdown. And again, without any human intervention, we've just been able to, you give us access to your config manager environment, you give us access to where you want to move to, I'm able to tell you whether or not you can move to your build of Windows 11. I'm able to tell you if it can run in an AVD multi-session environment. I'm able to do it because I've actually executed the application in those environments and figured out whether or not it's pass or fail. And a lot of folks, and these tests typically run from 1.5 to 3 minutes, but for those applications that are business critical, I can come in here and say, you know what, let me find an application that I really, really care about. And I'll pick, for the sake of the demo, I'll pick something like nice call focus, call center application. Here I can find any dependencies, dependees, all my MSI detection rules, registry. But if I do care about like a call center application, which has to integrate with my email application and my ticketing system application, well, put that all inside of that user's build because it's tied to that configuration profile and say, actually, this is the environment I want to test it against. send it to Samit, boom. And what it's going to do is it's actually going to facilitate a UAT VM with an email that goes out to me and says, you have 15 minutes. Please test this application. It's going to record it and get the user's thumbs up, thumbs down, and any notes that they might put in that process. For the business critical applications, you still want that user input. Make sense? Now, once those applications are sitting there, I actually just stay here. Once those applications are sitting there, I can actually go to my dashboard and say, all right, I'm feeling really confident about everything that's passed my baseline PST. I want to go ahead and export these 497 apps to Intune. And that's it. So what you've done from an unattended perspective is taken everything from Config Manager, understood what it's meant to behave like, said, will it work in my new environment by giving me 15, 20, 35 different builds that you want to test against, get all the data to know that it's safe and secure, and now it's going to wrap each one of those with intunewin and deploy them into your Intune environment. Now, once you've actually deployed them into Intune, we have the ability to step in and say, great, these applications are now sitting in Intune. I want to make sure that I'm able to marry my validation data with my deployment data, and we've actually created this Boost plugin, which allows me to come in, take a look at my applications, and say, oh, look at Notepad. This one I've just actually gone through and done. But take a look at Notepad. Now, when I create a new phase deployment, I can see that actually this will work on Windows 10, but it also work against my Windows 11 build. If I had someone do user acceptance testing, those results would be there as well. It's already finished discovery. I can deploy this application safely. It gives me the marriage of my Rimo3 proprietary data inside of your Intune workspace, and then ultimately it gives you the ability to say, great, I now want to go through the process of creating a brand new deployment by picking my applications. Sorry, you'll see that this is an error. But now I can create my deployment rings directly from here. And once I've actually deployed it into that environment, I can report on it. So this is a real-time report that we're able to get around Intune, around vulnerabilities of the applications that I've just pushed out. If you look here, I can see that my Docker 4.27 has 5 critical vulnerabilities. I need to do something about it. No problem. Go into Patch Catalog, find Docker, pick Docker, select the newest version, and this is constantly out there being updated. We have 35,000 different titles sitting in here. And then you have the ability to say, actually, I'm going to pick a workspace, so this is multi-tenant supported. I'm going to be able to pick a workspace I want to deploy to. I want you to do full automated validation, do the deployment, and then you can subscribe to this. And then you see I've already actually subscribed to this one. It comes into Teams, and I get a notification inside of Teams when I get a new version of the application, as well as, here, I'll pull it up. You'll see that we get notifications inside of Teams that tell me anytime a new version of the application is through, anytime there's a new version of the app sitting inside of Intune. So not only have I migrated them there, I'm keeping them up to date, but I'm also ensuring that you have the latest and greatest version available for deployment. So you'll see that the automation has been brought from a migration perspective, from a testing perspective, from a packaging and exporting perspective, as well as a deployment perspective. So this is available at no charge for 2 months. Come by the Rimo3 booth. You just have to scan a QR code. You get 2 months of access to unlimited number of apps. You get the reporting capabilities, and you get the operational capabilities. So I appreciate all of you taking the time, sitting down and listening through this, but come by the booth and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, everyone.